Our parents were really quite tightly connected. It's very difficult to think of a situation where they didn't do something together.
Well, I think my parents had a very strong relationship. There was a fundamental sort of caring and decency, and I know they supported each other very strongly in their respective interests throughout their lives together.
Our parents created an atmosphere in our household where there was peace, and I don't think any of us could ever say that we so much as heard one raise their voice towards the other.
The only thing nicer than young love is old love, and they were the proof of that. They became a regular part of my routine, and my responsibilities was to visit. And I was always very impressed from the get-go. After many years of marriage, after all the struggles that family life can be, and with all its joys, that they didn't just survive, but they thrived. They still loved each other, and they loved each other very deeply.
When we suspected that our mom had Alzheimer's, I guess it really didn't come, in some ways, as a big surprise, because you could see certain things happening and you really weren't aware of what the real reason was, but you knew something was not quite right.
There were little things that she would do around the house that just didn't seem right. She started to wander a little bit. She would misplace things or become obsessed with things around the house.
She was a very vibrant, energetic woman who was involved in lots of activities. And as she started having difficulties, there were fewer and fewer things that she could continue to do. And I think that caused her frustration.
To see that somebody who had been so motivated, so inquisitive, was being hit by a disease like this was, you say it's unfair, it's unfortunate, it's sad, and to see all of a sudden all those traits slowly disappearing is very difficult.
I remember the way they would pray together or hold their hands, the gentleness of them with each other. I remember his great patience with her. He would always let her speak, and she would begin a sentence and not remember by the end where she had begun. And she would just sort of turn to him, and he would finish it. He knew her thoughts. He knew where she was going, and there was never any sense of frustration, any impatience. The two had become one.
I was trying to recall what my mother said and what her reaction was to the diagnosis. And I found it interesting. She said, this isn't something we can't take care of. So then I thought, well, good for her. It showed the strength of her character.
My mom had 4 children within 5 years. So I think the early years were very busy.
For my parents, it was all about what they could do for the kids, how they could help make our life better, and all that stuff that we never appreciated as young people. And this was kind of this full circle coming around. It was our turn to support her.
It was a lot. I mean, I was very happy to help my parents, don't get me wrong, but did it change things in my life? Absolutely. There were times when there were things I wanted to do that I couldn't do because they needed help. The care she received when she moved into long-term care was excellent. All of the caregivers loved her. They had an ability to see beyond the lack of communication to what kind of person she really was at heart.
The staff there was terrific. Hats off to the people that get into that. Most of us would say, I don't want to deal with that, or I can't deal with that. But they go back time and time again.
It's a Catholic long-term care facility, and we knew in a facility like that the emphasis would be on the dignity of the human person. So that was very important for us and for her.
We could not have done as good a job at home. And I know a lot of people think, it's best if you can keep your loved ones at home. She wouldn't have received the care she needed if we'd kept her at home.
I think it's important, first of all, for people to appreciate who's suffering when and what the suffering really is. So on the early stages of Alzheimer's, you can see that there's great frustration with the patient. As you get into the mid stages of Alzheimer's, the patient doesn't realize quite what's going on. So all of a sudden, there's a transfer that takes place. So the suffering goes back to the family and friends.
It's all part of a very human process, which is imperfect, it's difficult, but it at the end of the day, I think it provided us with an opportunity for the family to come together.
We all get old and we all get needy. And that doesn't diminish us, our humanity. It doesn't diminish God's love for us. It gives occasion for greater love from those of us who are called Christian.
It was just a wonderful experience for my children. They were able to go and help her, to feed her, to talk to her. We saw how important it was for her to be treated with dignity right to the very end. We really had a living example of the dignity of human life, and that it was a wonderful experience in that regard.